this man, Trump, has revealed America to the rest of the world and revealed that he's got a lot of Americans, a lot of people who claim U.S. citizenship, who are as worrisome to us as is Trump. Trump has revealed them to be who they are. And General Milley has called each and every one of those people out. And we have a serious problem in the United States. And Mark lays it out. General Milley lays it out.
And you came out with a pretty strong statement on this today. John, why don't you show us the statement that that VoteVets put out on your behalf, sir? You're added to the rank that think Donald Trump is fascist to the core, aren't you?
He is. And the thing is, we have a once great Republican Party. We are a two-party system, and we each deal with the strengths and weaknesses of the other party to come out with the best possible outcome. But Mr. Trump is not a real Republican. He is not a conservative. He is something else. And General Milley called him out as a fascist. And I do believe that he is a fascist. It's all about Trump. It's all about his future acquisition of power. And I fear that when you look at Project 2025 and the impact of what they plan to do with the military personnel system, where they will get rid of those generals, those admirals who are not in line with Trump and replace them with Trump sycophants. And replace them with fealty to Trump, not fealty to anything else, and certainly not to the Constitution of the United States of America. So General Milley has laid it out as clearly as he can. Thank God for Bob Woodward. That man, I'm 74. I remember Bob Woodward from the very beginning. And he doesn't put anything on paper unless it is rock solid, believable, absolutely corroborated. So what we have is a gift to the American people, laying out who this guy Trump is. And when you have somebody with the credibility of a Princeton graduate hockey player turned infantry soldier for the rest of his life, Mark Milley was the guy to do it.
Yeah, and then he, look, we had our challenge with Mark Milley. I know, Alex Minman. There were some challenges. He was walking a fine line. He took a lot of flack for that march across Lafayette Square during the BLM protest. To his credit, I was very impressed that he admitted that. He went public days later saying that was a mistake for me to be there. I really respected that. He was definitely on the opposite side of Donald Trump on a lot of things, and probably stopped a lot of terrible things. And that story goes on. I mean, there was more in that story. He actually offered to meet, I'm reading it as we speak, he offered to meet with the Department of Justice lawyers that he wanted to sit down. The DOJ lawyers told Woodward that was unheard of. And they said, he writes, the general asked a meeting because he was deeply convinced that Trump remained a danger to the country, even though he had been forced from office after Biden's election. I mean, that's how serious Milley was taking this. He grabbed him at an event, told him, hey, the quote is, here's the quote. He is the most dangerous person ever. I had suspicions when I talked to you about his mental decline and so forth, but now I realize he's a total fascist. He's now the most dangerous person to this country. And that's when he says a fascist to the core. I mean, he does. I mean, that, I don't know. I hope he knows he was on the record, right? But, he must have approved that quote at some point, telling us that, hey, I want this out there. And there's nothing wrong in there, is there?
No, Fred. As we know, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs commands nobody. He is the principal advisor to the President of the United States. However, everybody looks to the chairman for guidance and respect for the chairman and the office that he holds.
Yeah.
So he may not command the armed forces of the United States or anybody in it, except for the Joint Staff. But the Joint Staff and the chairman are a collective of some of the brightest, bravest men and women we have ever seen. And their whole point of existence is to serve the combatant commanders and the President of the United States. So the Joint Staff is this facilitating agent of some, I can't remember the number, but it's about 450 men and women.
Yeah.
Relatively small organization for the responsibility that it carries. And Mark Milley, he's the guy. And that is a responsibility that really resonates to the rest of the armed forces and should to the United States. So when Mark Milley speaks, or when any chairman of the Joint Chiefs speaks, we all really have to listen.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially somebody who worked directly for Trump. He saw the machinations. I'm sure we've heard since then, right, Paul, that he talked about pulling out of NATO. He talked about an immediate pullout of Afghanistan. Something I've been talking about quite a bit, sir, on this tour that we're on, this Not Suckers and Losers tour.
By the way, thank you for what you are doing, Fred. And you are the voice. I mean, you're the voice, and thank you very much.
That's very kind of you, sir. I appreciate it. Yeah, we've been talking a lot about, and I don't know if you heard about this, but I heard about it from a friend who works at the Pentagon, that they actually had a guy whose job was to monitor Trump's Twitter feed because he was issuing orders via Twitter. Like, that's how people forget the transgender order that said troops couldn't serve came out by tweet. I mean, you served a long time. You were a general yourself. I mean, can you imagine having to monitor the president's social media for your orders?
I mean, you can't make this stuff up. I mean, the military is, I mean, we are populated by such young, bright men and women who say, we really ought to do